everyone. It's Nakul from Wicky. Welcome to our NFL preview for the week. Welcome, Jacob, once again.
Thanks for having me, mate. Coming in off the back of Super Wildcard Weekend, which wasn't that super from a competitive standpoint. From an entertainment standpoint, unfortunately, 5 of the 6 games were kind of blowout double-digit wins. But it was great for anyone who watched our preview, at least if you caught my tip of Rashee Rice. We did get that one saluting, first touchdown scorer in the Chiefs game, and paying 11.50.
Awesome. Okay, so we're in some good form. I think when we go through this one, this odds comparison tool, guys, that you see on your screen, the potty that we're doing at the moment, whether you want to watch the potty or listen to us, you can Google Wiki Linktree. You'll find it right there. And obviously, Jacob's wearing his hat. Trypod Punters Tips Forum got over 25,000 people on there. And it's been awesome throughout the summer to get some cricket tips on there as well. I've been putting a few myself. It's been a wild ride. But let's get into the upcoming week's NFL action. So we're going Ravens, Texans first. Jacob, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, the Texans got an upset, a couple of upsets in Super Wildcard Weekend. There was a couple of surprises, which is good to see in the playoffs. I mean, it was just yesterday watching Philly, who were the NFC champs, get bundled out, and they hadn't been right for weeks. But you kept wondering that a team that had that pedigree, whether they could get back on track. They're gone now. And then Dallas was another that was a real chance to make a Super Bowl, had won 16 straight at home, and found themselves down 27-0 to these young guns from Green Bay, who we get to see in the opening match of the playoffs Sunday, Australian time. And they will take on, that's the second of the doubleheader, though. So we'll talk about Houston, who also pulled an upset. They found themselves up, at one stage it was like 48-14 against Cleveland. And Cleveland, who I had said might be the best defense in the league, the Texans absolutely torched them. And it's on the back of this young superstar they've got at quarterback who they drafted second in the draft, CJ Stroud. And, they lost their best receiver this season. So it's kind of such a shame that they don't have Tank Dell going to this one. But the connection he has with the rest of his receiving core, particularly Nico Collins, is pretty special. Still, you come in, it's a different animal. Like, obviously, every team that progresses from the wildcard weekend to the divisional round, we've seen win. So often punters are going to like to back that team again. But the new element you get in the divisional round is the number 1 seeds come to play. So these are the sides that were idle and enjoyed the bye, and that includes Baltimore in this game. And for NRL fans, people that have followed us through the footy and are just interested in our take on NFL, I really could liken Baltimore and San Francisco, who we'll talk about in a moment, to your Brisbane Broncos and Penrith Panthers in terms of the level they have been above the rest of the competition, on top of, remember, the advantage that Brisbane and Penrith enjoyed getting a week off before the prelims last year. So it's very hard to see them getting upset unless kind of everything went wrong. Ravens and the Texans did meet earlier this year. In fact, it was the opening game of the season or opening week, and it was probably closer than the score suggested. I think it was only 7-6 at halftime. The Texans just couldn't find the end zone, but that was literally CJ Stroud's first ever start. Now he's got a season under his belt, and the fact that they won a playoff game last week and they had to win the final week of the regular season to get in, they've kind of gotten playoff experience in the last 2 weeks. The Ravens have been in this position before. I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago where they were the 1 seed and then they laid an egg and were out straight away at home against Tennessee. So they'll be desperate not to repeat that. Look, the only way I can really go in this game is towards the favourites at home, Baltimore. Though they've had an injury or two, they're such a complete team. I don't want to bet against them because I think that being fresh and being at home is such an advantage. And I also think they'll learn the lessons from when they were upset in the same position where they made mistakes early in that game against Tennessee. So I think low risk, and that means maybe keeping the ball on the ground a bit more. When you're looking for rushing touchdowns, Lamar Jackson himself is a real threat. But I'm still going to take the Gus Bus, who is the RB1 for this team since Mitchell's been out. So 8.50, if you go Nakul on the odds comparison tool there to first touchdown scorer, I think we're going to find Gus Edwards at a best price of $8.50 for the first touchdown.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Just very quickly, look, I'm used to being rejected by you on these ones, so I'm going to throw it out anyway. I'm going to have a really quick look at market value. A lot of these numbers do seem like long shots, and actually, you know what? These are long shots. So I assume we're just skipping straight to anytime try scorer because there was one that was
Yeah, there's
screaming
some
out.
of
I think.
these like these guys that are the backup, and it's
Yep.
like the only scenario I could really see him scoring the first touchdown would be a very early injury. So although there could be some
Yep.
outlying prices, it's nothing that really tickled my fancy.
Sure. And this bloke here at 26 to 1. Anything
Yeah,
interesting here or
Rashad
not?
Bateman, if there's any of them, he is someone who's actually, could be on the field, most likely on a first drive. Wide receiver for Baltimore. I said before, I'm just going to lean towards a rushing touchdown being the first score, so that's why I went with the Gus Bus.
Yep, no worries. And there was one that stood out when you were talking. I couldn't pay full attention to you because I kept staring at this Justice Hill, $4.30. Any love there for any time touchdown score or not really?
For an anytime, that's possible as well. So he's like your backup running back and
Okay.
will get a few carries, and I think has a real chance, especially if it's a blowout where you do actually give the backups more burn, especially kind of fourth quarter. So if you were going with the type of same game multi where you were playing Baltimore to cover the spread, and it's an eight and
Yep.
a half point spread, so you're thinking maybe Baltimore is going to win double digits. Linking in Justice Hill there is an outlying price on Sportsbet. Could be a pretty solid leg to add in because he really could get opportunities late if it's beyond a one score game.
Sweet. And the only reason I even bothered asking because he's $4.30, and then on the other bookies, there's only three other bookies, but he's around that sort of 295 to 325. So I thought, ooh, standout price. At least I'll ask the question. But no, awesome. All right, cool. We'll move on to the other game. We're doing 49ers and Packers, right?
Right. So Green Bay has a chance to return the favor to San Francisco. I think it was 2 years ago. The roles were reversed. Green Bay was at home. They were off a bye. San Fran had got the road upset win in wildcard weekend. But now, as I said, shoes on the other foot. San Francisco have been Super Bowl favorites for many weeks now. And they're in a great spot, of course, being at home, rested while Green Bay's had to play, win, and get in, similar to Houston, and then had to pull a big upset victory last week in Dallas. But there's no pressure on Green Bay now. They're kind of playing with house money. So you kind of feel like they can play free. And they've got such a young team, which means in a way they're fearless. It also means the future is very bright for Green Bay. Whereas for San Fran, the future is now. They're not going to get any better than they are right now. They're in the perfect position. And with Dallas being upset, that pathway to a Super Bowl is even clearer. The line is 10, though. So it's a funny one because everyone loves San Francisco and sees the talent that they have, and the amount of weapons is just ridiculous. But Green Bay put 48 points up last week, so they're going to have their admirers too. What it comes back to for me, though, is with the extra time to prepare and the scheme of San Francisco that puts these superstars in positions to succeed. I think the Packers defense is going to be compromised. I don't think they can cover everybody. And, take your pick of first touchdown scorer. Again, you've got any time there, and I'm seeing McCaffrey. That's as short odds as you'll ever see for an anytime touchdown. And people can think about it like anytime try scorers as well. Like it's very rare you're going to see an anytime try scorer best price at $1.35 unless it's a winger on a team that's like over a 20-point favorite. So that's how prolific CMC's been this year. And first touchdown scorer, what's he going to be, like $4, right? Best price. Of course, it's probably not the worst bet you could make, but I'll go for a little bit longer odds. And I'm going to take George Kittle. He's had a good season, but what I like about Kittle is I think there's an upside there in the playoffs because he is the type of player you do save a little bit, kind of like that fancy car, glamour car that you might have. You only take it out, for special occasions. And on top of that, the matchup here, Green Bay shut down Dallas pretty well, especially the wide receivers. But Dallas's tight end Ferguson still scored 3 touchdowns even in the loss. So I think that Kittle can enjoy success in this one too. And on the odds comparison tool, you see the same as me there, Nakul, $13 best price. And he's a weapon of a player. So I think that's pretty juicy.
Awesome. All right, cool. Well, guys, we're going to move on to the NBA potty in a second. But with with tips from this pod, we're going to get them out. I've had some luck, as I mentioned to you just before we started recording, Jacob, with some BBL tips. So I'm going to make sure that, look, obviously, we'd love for you guys to check out the whole potty, but we're going to put one of the tips from each pod out on socials, including the Trypod Fun Facebook group. But obviously, yeah, Google Wiki Linktree if you want to listen or watch this potty. Get onto our free Discord and Tripod Punters Tips forum for all of Jacob's tips, obviously, and the 25,000 plus people that are in there as well. Awesome. We'll catch you guys next week.
Cheers, mate.